it's been a pretty interesting 24 hours around the college basketball world. And I'm sure some things will change. I'm sure a lot of things might change, and how they change, I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question.
It's a horrible time for the game. But the game has begged. It's been on its knees begging for change.
Those accusations are true. That's certainly not the way college basketball should work. And there's so many of us doing it the right way. There's so many of us.
It's really a travesty how people have treated our game. And it's really sad that we have all these situations, and there's more of it out there. Those of us in the profession know it.
Here's what I know. Allegations, until somebody tells me what Kyle Kuzma supposedly did, he's not guilty in my mind.
We have I think a long haul ahead of us as a sport to figure out what the right thing is to do moving forward. There is no easy answer. There is no quick fix.
Everybody knows for 30 years agents have been involved with players' families. This is nothing that would surprise anybody in coaching.
Just disappointed. It's my school. I love my school. So I don't really know what else to say.
I mean, everybody knows everybody's getting paid. I mean, that's how it is. Everybody's getting paid anyway. You might as well just make it legal. So that's how I feel.
You have to be disappointed with this crap coming out.
I mean, yeah, for all of basketball, this stuff, yeah. But, again, the statement I made is, for me, where we stand on this and how I feel about it.
It's the NBA right now. We're focusing on, trying to win games, and, things like this, come about and whatnot. So, it's definitely a little distraction, but, nothing, professional athletes in general, they go through situations, like this, can't handle, so.
All right, y'all, here we are. Our take, we're about to do our thing. But first, let me give a shout out to our man Leaf. As you see, we down 1 tonight.
Thank God, man.
Hey,
I'm with it. Don't ever come back.
Yo, shout out to Leaf, man. Get better, y'all.
One of our co-hosts is not here, so listen, man, he's sick, but he'll be back next week. So let's start this talk out. Let's talk about a hot topic, and let's get into the NCAA scandal, the FBI investigation, and all the stuff that came out about this topic. I'm going to start it by saying is that it's a shame to see how this is playing out. What I feel is that to watch the NCAA do the things that it do in light of all of the corruption that has always been involved and circled around them, what we're seeing right now is ridiculous to me. Miles Bridges was able to pay $40 to a charity, and the NCAA said that cleared him. The interesting part is that his mother took his mother took $400 from the agent
as an advancement,
right? And that's not even being talked about. They only worrying about the dinner charge, which was charged on his credit card, which was $78, which in the NCAA scope of things, it equals $40. So they had him pay that to the charity, but the $400 is not even being talked about. And he's cleared to still play. What's your take on everything that's going on right now in light of what has come out? And there's going to be a couple parts to this, so let's get at it.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Firstly, obviously, we are all gonna say shame on the NCAA. The director of the NCAA came out and was like, "Oh, we got to make sure that we stop this." All of that. All of this has been going on for a long time. We know this. I think what has come out is not shocking to us. I think the size of it is what now we're looking at as a little bit more carefully. Now we're looking at, okay, this is not just one or two institutions. We know it's multiple institutions, and we know it's one feeder guy that's actually taking stock of everything. Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say this. It's one agency that's in this scope right now. Let's just keep it there. And also, as we know, that this stems back from the sneaker investigation, that all of this came out with the coaches being involved in that scandal. So go ahead, Banks. What's your take?
No,
just to touch on it a little bit because you talked a little bit about how Miles Bridges was still eligible to play. I think the main issue is that, especially Tom Izzo, because I look at what happened in Michigan State, and I'm like, yo, these guys are willing to risk regular season games for something that could be a lot bigger, because we don't know everything yet. That says a lot about Tom Izzo. You know, to me, I would have took a leave of absence or something, because we don't know where this is going. So now you're saying, all right, this kid is eligible. He paid a $40, charge to a charity or whatever it is. What if they find out, yo, this kid took $100,000, or this agency was giving this kid $200,000? What are you going to say then? You know what I mean? Like, the amount of games that I see these coaches are willing to forfeit to win, just to put a big brand out there to make sure that, you know, that administration gets their billions of dollars, and the peanuts that they give these kids, you know, because everybody talks about, oh, it's a college education, but the fact of the matter is, it's a drop in the bucket to an institution that's getting paid billions of dollars. And just to touch on it, just to finish my last point, I find it very, strange that in the NCAA, particularly in football, particularly in basketball, you're technically a slave. They can use your likeliness, make money off it, and they say you can't. Think about that. Can you go anywhere else outside of that and say, hey, I can't profit off of Banks. I can't profit off of Mark. Somebody say, no, I own the rights to your name. I own the rights to your likeliness. And you know what? I'm going to give you $5 for it. Think about the return on investment that these institutions are getting. So it's just crazy.
Go ahead, Banks.
Yeah, like you said, there's nothing more unique to yourself than what you look like. You know what I mean? And the fact that the NCAA can profit off of that and you can't is absolutely crazy. Because when you think about it, but this has been going on for a while now. Right. This has been going on since Ed O'Bannon won his suit against EA Sports.
Right.
And they did away with these games that were big sellers, the college football game. But I mean, just get rid of the system. It's like a VCR at this point. It's outdated technology. When it came into existence, it made sense because the amount of money that was in the sport they didn't have TV contracts. This system is from NCAA amateur athletes is from the 30s, maybe even 20s, prior to that, the 20s. So then it was a good idea. College education was, a good thing. And how do you fix it? I think part of going forward is you have to make a minor league for this G League, and the NBA has to take off. And you got to do away with NCAA. And you're still going to have colleges, and you can use those scholarships for kids who are actually going to stay in school for 4 years. The people that the scholarships are going to, the Kevin Durant's, the Porter kid, the Bagley kid, these kids are not staying in school for 4 years. You know what I mean? They're only in school because you tell them they can't go to the NBA coming right out of high school. So if you do away with this system, you could actually use these scholarships for kids that are actually going to stay there for 4 years and actually build a program.
But here's what I wanted to say, just to touch on that. The funny thing is that, and what's whack about that, the NCAA has this whole student-athlete mindset. Oh, you're a student first.
The mantra is.
Yeah, and you're an athlete second.
It was a word that was created.
If that's really true, if you're really invested in these kids' education, which is not, why when I go to the NBA now, or why when I leave your school, why you can't guarantee me the rest of the 3 years so I can have an education? If it's really that important. It's really not that important, clearly. You know what I'm saying? So it's a farce, man.
Listen, let's just unpeel the onion right now. I want you to think about something. Right now, when the FBI scandal came out and it was first re-imported, a couple of schools suspended their players. Arizona coach, he wound up not coaching. They sat him down because of everything. Sean Miller is on tape talking about giving his player $100,000 to make sure that he comes to that university.
I got a question. Where does this money come from? That $100,000, where's that coming from? That's coming from the school?
No, from the agent.
It came from the agent. All right. My thing is this. If you are willing to give a player $100,000 to come to a program, when you just said return on investment, that means that's a drop in the bucket for that. What that kid is going to make for your school. If somebody willingly says, "Yo, Avery, I'll give you here's $100,000. Just do this for me," that means I'm going to make $10 million off of that.
Well, kind of, sort of. What you're saying is not wrong, but here's how it works out. The agent fronts that money to a player that he know is going to go to the pros. So they know that money's going to come back to them. The school wants to use that money to make sure that the player comes to his program. So yes, the university will benefit from having them there. It's not costing the university a dime. They're going to profit off of that kid and probably a couple others, the blue chip players. The crazy part about it is, once all of these tapes get leaked out and we find out that Coach K is involved, think about that, because the Duke player, he's listed. North Carolina didn't have no one, but Kentucky did.
North Carolina's had other issues in the past.
Oh, yeah,
NCAA the system is outdated.
They will bypass certain things. But when the scandal breaks and everything hits the fan, is the player the one that's going to suffer the most?
Yes, and that's whack. Because the NCAA is supposed to be a governing body, right, over collegiate sports. This is what we're supposed to be doing. But what they're doing is they're concentrating more on the players. So if you think about it, and I think I've said this before, a coach essentially can sit in your living room, recruit you, tell you to come to the school, right? You in turn, or that coach in turn says, I don't want to be here no more. He leaves. You came there for that coach. You leave. You got to sit out a year, but that coach get paid.
Oh, I got one better.
Blasphemous.
I got one better.
Think about it. It's
I
not
got
set
one.
up for the player.
I got one better for you. Nick Saban's $1 million home was paid off by boosters. And the kid can't go to lunch with an agent. Agent couldn't take a kid to get a $20 lunch at Applebee's with him. That's improper. But the boosters paid off the coaches. And you know what's even more sad? That these coaches have no interest in the kids. They are not saying. Some of these coaches need to step up and say, you know what, this is wrong. What we're doing to these kids are absolutely wrong.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Money, man.
Why is it that it seems there's only 2 collegiate sports that has the most focus, has the most eyes on it? That's college basketball and college football.
We know why.
Because they're the majority minority. That's
I don't think that's it also. I think it's also the money.
Well, okay. The part that I want to tie in is that if they were able to allow these kids to go straight to the pros, would that solve this problem?
I think so. I think you have to create, basically, I don't know how to fix football right now, but I think you do have to create a minor league for basketball. It was all good a little while ago. They did this one and done thing to try to help the college out, because that was basically their minor leagues. They were getting free. They were getting the VIG for free. They were getting these people for free. Now invest in the sport. Invest, because this is something that you've always said, the fundamentals in the game is lacking. Create G League teams for all NBA teams. Take it all the way down to AAU. Open academies where you're teaching the fundamentals of the game going all the way forward, and bring these kids all the way up. So when they hit the pro level, they're ready to play.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We're crossing 2 things. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You got the NBA. The one and done is not an NCAA issue.
No, it's not.
It's an NBA issue.
It was created though for that.
But let's stop repeating the lie. The NBA created the rule to help out the NCAA.
Okay,
agreed.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, you have 2 different governing bodies that gotta come now together to change that. And what's gonna happen as soon as one and done comes back? You're gonna try to entice more kids to come to college now. So there's a lot of intangibles with that.
All right, let's come back to this.
No doubt.
All right, segment number 2 coming up. Peace, show. We'll be right back. All right, y'all, here we are. We back, getting at it. We're going to keep this going, more hot topics. But let me just unpeel this onion once again. So David Stern, before he left, he was the one that pushed to have the rule change and made it where a player had to go 1 year to college. Okay. He said, and I'm quoting him, they realized a lot of the players that was coming straight from high school wasn't ready. They wasn't mature enough to just come straight to the league. They felt that if they forced them to do 1 year of college, that would help them in their development. Now,
Lies.
Total lies. But why is it when it comes to basketball, the sport that is predominantly a minority sport is looked at in this scope when other sports, tennis, volleyball, golf,
baseball,
hockey, baseball, there's no argument at all about kids going straight, turning pro at 14, 15, 17. They don't have a problem with it. When it comes to the NBA, why is this a problem?
Go ahead, Baker.
Those other sports have development leagues in place to get these people ready. Of course, it's also about the minority aspect of it.
So it is race then?
It's partially race, I believe. Okay. But also, football and basketball, I would agree with football. You're not ready to play professional football coming out of high school, just physically. Mm-hmm. There's very few people that you see like that. Mm-hmm. We can name like 3 people that were ready to play professional basketball coming out of high school. LeBron, I mean physically, LeBron James had a man's body going into the league. Kevin Garnett. Yes, but he still struggled for a while. You're thinking of the Hall of Famer now, but his first 2 or 3 years in the league, he was like 8 or 9 points a game. Kevin Durant could only bench 185 pounds, I think, one time. So we're talking about physically, these people are not ready to play the game. But yeah, it's partially race, but I think they need to have better minor leagues in place.
Go ahead.
Well, first, all right. So if I got this right, so. The rule is you have to be 1 year removed from high school. Not that you have to go to college. You have to be 1 year removed from high school. Also, David Stern, this was the agenda to push that international agenda too. Because if you notice, there was an influx of now international players who have been overseas, who have played. That was a part of that whole ploy to stop the one and dones from coming out and kind of,
taking up
roster spots and whatnot. And now you got the international play over here. But wholly and holistically, if you look at it from a perspective of the NFL, right? From perspective of the NCAA. And this is what I hear this argument all the time. The players got to be developed. Let's keep it a buck. Players don't really develop in college. I don't think so. Unless you used to have 4-year players that played, and 2, the phenomenon of high school players started coming. You had those kids that you was like, and then it became this thing. You ain't gotta go to college. Let's come out. And I always look at it like, look, I'm big on education, but I'm also big on, I'm not gonna let nobody exploit me. If I'm gonna exploit myself before you exploit me, which is why, and I know I hate to bring it up, I understand the Lonzo Ball, the LeVar Ball mentality a little bit.
I was going to get there at some point.
At the same time, from a race standpoint, it's too much irony that the majority African American sports are where there's these kind of constraints to what you can do and how you can take advantage.
You think it's strictly race, or you think it's
I don't
also?
Think it's strictly race,
No, I know, but there's a large portion of the money involved in those two sports. Those are the money makers for these schools.
But let me answer this, and let me answer that question, because why I'm going to hold it to race is a couple of things. You have 30 business owners that if you get a kid that then went to, let's say, Duke, and his major was business management, he comes out, but he's not good at his job. You hire him. He doesn't work out. What happens? Right or wrong? You didn't know what he's going to do until you hired him. You have a thing far as the NFL thing called a practice squad, whereas you pay these players that done played 3 years. Some has played 4 years. They go into the draft. Some gets undrafted, right. And they come onto your team, onto a practice squad, and you pay them and you develop them. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So why can't a kid come out of high school and do the same thing? Nowhere does it say that you have to walk out of high school and walk onto an NFL field or NBA basketball court and start.
Like I said, I don't know how to fix it in the NFL, but I think that's where we're headed in the NBA. I think they're up to somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 teams that have G League affiliate teams.
They're pushing for 30 or 30 to have.
Right, and I think once we get there, I think you're going to see the NBA do something where they cut out the NCAA, because that way they can get all of the money.
But here's the interesting part about that statement is this. The NCAA is in cahoots with the NBA.
I agree with you.
They're not going to cut off their their money stream.
Well, they will if they're forced to cut them off. Like
what's
going to
force them?
What I'm saying is everybody's seeing how corrupt the system is, and I think a lot of people, and bringing it back to LeBron James, he has one of the most powerful voices in the sports. He said it himself that the NCAA is corrupt, and you can't force these kids to go to school if they don't want to go to school.
And Banks, you're 100% right there. But here's the interesting part about it, though. Just think about something. The college basketball was suffering because cats was leaving, going straight to the pros. Right. College basketball, the March Madness ratings were on down. College basketball ratings were down. It was hurting. So what they wound up doing is partnershiping with the NBA, came up with this rule that helped them out. So now it forced the stars to go there. The television revenue went up. These schools make billions off of the actual TV deal.
I'm completely agreeing with
you. They're
not
now. So what you're saying is, okay, let's go back to the old system where now college basketball is going to be hurting again.
I mean, it's going to have to. It's going to have to. Like,
nothing is forcing them because guess what? The NCAA are their own entity, their own body.
But at some point,
they don't mind taking hits. They don't mind taking hits. As you see, look what just happened. They just allowed a kid that is in an FBI probe. His name has been mentioned in an FBI probe to pay $40 to a charity so he could still play. And what's coming up? The Big Ten championship tournament.
I agree with you, Mo. This is what I'm saying. Avery and I are in business, right? As much as Avery's my man, he's embroiled in a scandal that's going to take both of us down or hurt my product. At some point, I got to say to Avery, you my man. I love you to death, but I'm gonna have to cut ties.
Thanks. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Right.
But if you're the NCAA looking at Avery, you as the NCAA is saying, guess what? We don't care. That's their attitude.
What I'm saying, no, you're missing the point that I'm saying. The point I'm making is this. The NBA might say, we got our 30 teams now. We're done with that one and done. You want to come to the NBA, you can. We could put you on a squad. We'll develop you for if it takes a year or so for you to hit the big league. If you're killing it in the G League, you're a Kevin Durant in the G League, we'll bring you up right away. You don't even have to go that route. We'll expand the draft to 5 rounds. So we got a team full of young players that can come up at any time and help a team if they want, if they need them. And they might just cut the NCAA out altogether. Just say and that's what I'm saying. Avery being the NCAA and I'm going, yo, we cool, but you affected my money now, so I gotta let you go.
I feel like we live it's too much of a capitalistic society for that to happen. I think that one hand always washes the other. I think this is also politics, man. Like at the end of the day, you got high end level presidents, provosts, ADs at these institutions, and guess what? They've either been in the league, they know dudes in the league. This is a feeder system.
Boosters.
So how they say,
money.
how we gonna work this out to work together to ensure that my product stays making money? Now be very clear. The NBA may step back a little bit and say, yo, I'm gonna leave y'all alone a little bit, let y'all straighten this out. But then at the end of the day, they're gonna sit at the table and say, how can we make this system work for us? Right? And how can we make the system look like it's working for the player? That's just how.
Because let me add this to what you were saying, Banks, is this. If you go back, remember they had a CBA? Remember what the CBA was?
I remember that.
The CBA was supposed to have been the farm system for the NBA. No, but follow me. Then they had the D-League. Then they went from the D-League, which was fledgling, which wasn't doing well. Then they went to the G-League.
Well, no, the D-League is the G-League.
I know. But they have expanded the G-League now.
Okay.
But all the while, where are these players coming from? The majority of the players that are in the D-League that was in the CBA were American-born players.
Okay.
The foreign players stayed overseas
and they
under contract.
Develop overseas.
And and then they bring them over there 2 to 3 years later, and they walk right onto a roster. If you look at the rosters right now, there are American-born college players that are sitting in these sub-leagues, whereas, once again, why am I going to college?
Right.
Because once again, it is all a part of the system that these two entities have set up.
I agree, but like I said, this is where this is where somebody like a LeBron James could make a difference, where he can go to some of these top college players and say, "Yo, this is foolishness. We gotta have to do something about this." Whether it be like, you know what, I'm gonna take the 10 guys and stipend y'all some money to go overseas for a year, we have to break this cycle of the system.
Well, if something like that happened, that's a game changer.
That's what I'm saying. That would be a game changer.
But
and it wouldn't take much. LeBron could do something like that and say, "Yo, I'll give you 10 G's a month while you over there."
But listen what
something like that. You know what I'm saying?
But listen what you're saying though. You're saying an individual NBA player making a move like that. The NBA ain't doing that. That's what I'm saying to you. That's what Avery and I are saying to you.
No, I agree with you.
The capitalistic system which is set up, they're all making money off these kids.
I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying is the players, somebody has to be large enough and somebody has to step up on the player side and say, we're going to change this.
Well,
this is ridiculous.
Now let me roll it this way. If this was your son in this situation, would you start telling him to boycott? Let's come back with that, and let's delve a little bit deeper into that topic, because I think that right there is something that has been put out by Jalen Rose. A couple of other sports analysts has thrown that idea out there, and I just want to delve into it.
I got a little bit to say about that
and talk about it. So, we're gonna come right back. This is our take. See you in a moment.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, y'all. Here we are. We right back at it. So let's talk. Let's keep it going. So I'm going. So I left off talking about. There's talk now out there about with everything that's going on. They're talking about players should boycott, and what would be the impact of the boycott, and would that change anything? If this was your son, that was a top player at a top university, would you tell him to boycott?
Wow.
Yeah, but I have the wisdom of being a 39-year-old man and seeing what it is. It's hard to tell an 18-year-old, that's probably looked up to this moment their whole life, has either dreamed about playing at UCLA or Duke or wherever, and going to the NBA to tell them in the long run you're doing what's best for the generations behind you. You know what I mean? It's hard to do that, and it would take a special kid to do it. Like I said, I don't think you need to do a wide-scale boycott. I just think some of the top players, like if a Zion would have went overseas, I don't know who the top player in the class is if he would have went overseas. You start seeing that, you start affecting the money, that's when you're really going to see a difference.
So let me just say this. I'm trying to look at it just purely from a basketball perspective, but I'm looking at it from just a college perspective. At the end of the trip, that's still your kid's college experience, right? So me as a father, obviously, I'd give my kid the option, or I'd say, yo, listen, it's up to you, but you see what's happening over here. You see them taking advantage. But the experience of this kid, if he's a player like we're talking about,
top player,
he's never going to have this experience again in the NCAA tournament. He's never going to have this experience. Now, I would also tell him that he could do something that's groundbreaking, that's monumental by boycotting. He's still going to get drafted, right? You know what I'm saying? We could agree that you could boycott. I mean, you're still going to get drafted.
Nobody remembers that first guy through the door, though, fondly. Kurt Flood, with free agency and all that, was killed for years. He died almost, I think pretty close to broke or somewhere in that neighborhood. So to be that first guy and to tell your son to be that first guy through the door, it's not necessarily a easy road that he's going to.
Well, let me come at this a different way, because I think I take this very serious. And what's deep for me is this part here. In the 70s, the sit-ins, the boycotts which took place changed this country. And if you remember, a lot of the people that was doing that was college kids.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay. They knew the wherewithal that they had to do something to make a change. And if we keep saying, well, yes, being in March Madness, but if you really think about it for a moment, Abe, a kid that we're talking about, like a Marvin Bagley, shouldn't even be at Duke. He could actually went straight to the to the pros without a doubt. Am I right or wrong? Michael Porter could have went straight to the pros. So to say I missed out on March Madness, well, dog, if the rule wasn't there, you wouldn't have cared, because you would be sitting in the pros right now.
I don't think some of those kids do care. I think I hate to say this, but Ben Simmons was just like,
again,
I don't care.
It's like the kids in football that say, I'm not playing in a bowl game. Like,
And I love that. I love that. I love the fact that they're doing
the risk of health. I'm not going to risk getting hurt and lose money.
But
wait, hold on.
The tournament's a little different.
Bigger.
A little different. Okay.
Major difference.
I just want to make sure.
But let me say it like this, and Banks said it, but you didn't go into it, is if the top blue chip players at all these universities says, I'm not taking the floor.
Yeah.
And then if the starting five say, I'm not taking the floor.
Right.
That's a game changer.
Absolutely.
March Madness is a multi-billion
dollar for these schools.
No, not for the schools. For Vegas.
Yeah. For everything. Everybody's getting chicken. Everybody's getting chicken except the people that are creating the product.
Every city that hosts
the
tournament makes millions of dollars during that weekend. So the television rights, so all of this will be flipped upside down.
Yeah.
Only the saddest part is this: you don't have that type of people around right now.
Well, you know what it is though too, is because
I always lean on that.
I think it's partially that, but I also think it's. I guess you're right, because everybody's kind of out for themselves. Because it's funny that we're talking about Jalen Rose saying this, and I remember that Fab Five special, and Chris Webber was talking about. It was funny that they were selling my jersey in the college store, and I was so broke I could not even go get a pizza. I was starving, and they were selling my jersey. Nike, the University of Michigan, made a killing off of these dudes, and they talking about he disgraced the university. And they took down their Final Four banner, and they changed the Fab Five. Changed college basketball, changed basketball.
The look of basketball
they
across the board.
And we can, and that's why I said, I lean towards the race factor, but I don't think that's why I said I don't think it's entirely race, because they were saying the same thing. If you saw a Tim Tebow special, you know how much money Tim Tebow made for University of Florida. This dude was riding around getting a stipend and had barely enough money to put gas in his car. To drive around in.
But you see, you're talking about the singular, not the plural.
Well, because these are
that's what we're saying.
These are a culmination.
But if you notice the scrutiny now, the scrutiny is looked at the black athlete totally different than a Tebow. Think about something. Think about what Cam went through, leaving his senior year at Auburn. Just the thought that his pops took money. You remember that?
Yeah, but I think that's two different things we're talking about.
No, follow me. No. The reason that I'm bringing it up is that if you think about the scrutiny that they gave him because of his pops, not Cam, because his pops supposedly took money to put Cam at Auburn, and it was never proven, but he was always under that scrutiny, and that was used against him. I'm going to say it. If that was a Tim Tebow, it wouldn't have been like that.
Because they gave Manziel hell. I'm sorry.
What hell did they give Manziel for what? Being a fool?
His last year's party, him signing off on the Bulls and all of that?
Because of your privilege, you are messing up your privilege. That's what they had a problem with. That's a total different story. Because I'm going to want you to think about it. All right? We can even go to the pros right now. Let's look at Travis Kelce. Let's look at Gronk. Look at the buffoonery that those dudes do. Marcus Peters gets traded because what?
Well, he was hurting the team on the field.
Okay, but all right, but let's. I don't
want.
Yeah,
some of his penalties and all that cost his team the game.
But let's not move totally away from that.
I'm just showing the scrutiny for these college kids in these two sports is totally different on any other.
Well, yes,
sport
because
level.
we're talking about majority African American sport. Yeah, that's what we all are in agreement about that.
Well, but if you're not in agreement that it's race, then what is it?
Now, I'm not saying. I said I don't think it's totally race. That's what I'm saying.
But what else?
Jim Boeheim caught. What did Jim Boeheim do?
Hold on, wait. So they're upset that these young black athletes is walking into the pros making this kind of money. Is that the problem?
No. They're upset that they're not getting their cuts. They're not getting their pound of flesh before they do that. You know what I'm saying? These schools make so much money off of these kids, and this is what they're upset about. That they're not getting. It is African American, yes. So it is partially is what
I say black, but go ahead.
Yes, black. It's what Avery said. Like, it's slavery. It's slavery. We're
you don't own your own likeness.
Yeah, how could you not own your own likeness?
Listen,
how could something like a college football game where I remember playing that college basketball game, Coach K's college basketball, where Coach K, I'm sure, got paid because they used his name.
Face.
But that UCLA squad was number 31 was Ed O'Bannon. But it didn't say Ed O'Bannon. It was player 31. He was left-handed. He was ball-headed.
Of course.
He had the same likeness of Ed O'Bannon.
But that's the system how it's set up.
But that's
they're
what I'm
setting
saying.
to exploit.
It's so crazy.
The crazy part is this: you can exploit me, but I can't. I can't get any piece of any kind of power.
And I'm sure
that's crazy.
And
to
I'm
me.
sure those kids still didn't get paid properly off of that game.
But think about this though, and let me just break it down this way: a kid like Michael Porter goes to a school like Missouri.
Yo,
he turns around.
He went to Missouri. That should tell you everything you need to know.
He's on a full ride.
Yeah.
But you know that ride is only 1 year.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah.
That school is going to rake in multi-million dollars, way past the $30,000 or $45,000 that they gave him for that 1 year.
Well, yeah.
That's really what it works out to be, because
his jersey will be a collector's item, even though he never played a game at the school. The school will get that cut of that.
You look at Trey Young right now. Oklahoma they're on national television every week. Solely because of Trey Young.
I keep saying he with the Oklahoma,
but you know Trey Young is leaving after this.
Oh, without question.
He didn't get a 4 year. A lot of people talk about, that's a 4 year ride. No, it's not. For some of these kids, it's a 1 year ride.
And that's the misnomer that I don't like. Oh, you get free college. It's for a year though, G.
That's
Let's
it.
keep it a buck.
It's not even
and
a year.
And the minute I leave, but you heard about
3 months.
Hold up, did y'all really read Ben Simmons' story?
I never got
Ben Simmons went, played in college, and withdrew from all his classes after the season. I'm out of here.
The moment his last game was played, he finished school at that point. He was done.
Absolutely.
He didn't go back to
Listen,
class.
You was talking about. I liked your analogy earlier where they said, they're giving them peanuts. They're not even giving them the peanuts.
They're giving them the shell.
The skin off the peanuts. That's what they're getting. We're talking about even if they stay for 4 years, this is a $150,000 education, right? When the school offer your likeness and offer you bringing money into the school has made 10, 20, $30 million. And
we're not even
talking about $150,000.
And we're not even talking about if you make the tournament and get the chip.
Right.
Wait, but if I gave you a 4 year ride and you stayed the whole 4 years, there's another kid that I gave a ride to that he's only staying for a year. That's bringing in the money. You ain't bringing in money.
It don't matter.
More. It ain't about you no more. Right. I'm telling you right now, it's the one and done. That's what he's doing. He don't care about you. Because I can tell you right now, the 4 year kid they ain't thinking about.
My solution, it ain't gonna happen. But the NCAA, they need to burn it down like the Carter. New Jack City. Jack City, we've been compromised. Burn it down.
Let me say it right now, man. The only way you're going to fix this is these kids go overseas or go straight pro and skip college, man. It's not even real.
Absolutely.
This is a crazy system. Thank you again for tuning in. This is Our Take. This has been our show, Our Talk. What's yours? Get back at us.
Peace.
Hip hop.